let's talk about a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. Interstate migration and tax competition. Yes, we have an article by City Journal, a winning formula. Now, I realize that as much as I want the California project to be destroyed, meaning their high tax, high regulation, high SJW, warriorism, policies and whatever, I want that to fail like the Soviet Union. I want most of the productive residents to leave, and I'd want to even the red states like Texas and Florida, or maybe some other states to come up and be even redder, or not redder as in terms of conservative, but redder in terms of more free market, more dynamic, more businesses, more jobs. But unfortunately, intergovernment competition is not as fierce as private sector competition, for the obvious reason is, even though they kind of compete for prestige, the DMVs don't really compete with each other, because they don't get, if one DMV is offering a better service than another, well, that's good and all, but it's not like they can keep the profits of their newfound business. So, but keeping that in mind, this little bit of competition is better than nothing. And what's really gonna fire off competition, if you could just move out of the country completely, if remote work could be so prevalent that United States would just start hemorrhaging people to Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic or whatever, wherever the new remote freelancers are going, and that will light up enough competition that would basically stop the high taxes and high regulations in its track. Now, this article is pretty interesting. It's not only about low taxes, and let's check it out. So, America is experiencing great reordering in which individuals have increased flexibility to choose where they live. One of the most salient factors driving domestic migration, and one that policymakers can most easily manage, is the state tax burden. I don't think it's any coincidence that the most migration has been going to states with no income tax. States with lower taxes tend to attract more migrants than they lose, while the opposite is true for states with high taxes. Indeed, the 10 states with the highest tax burdens, as calculated by the Tax Foundation, all but Rhode Island, were net losers of migration in 2019. While taxation alone is excuse me. While taxation alone is a strong indicator of domestic migration, its true power is revealed when they analyze combination with dynamism of a state's economy. States with dynamic economies and relatively low taxes will attract more residents on net. State's tax burden appears much more influential in enticing new residents than compelling residents to pack their bags. In 2019, the 10 states with the lowest tax burdens attracted nearly 1.5 times the number of domestic immigrants of high tax states, despite having aggregate population almost 16% smaller. For domestic immigration, the effect was reversed, a bit less pronounced. Most Americans have innate bias to remaining in their current location. Yes, family, friends, community, jobs, transition costs, and keep people where they are. Yet once they choose to leave, leave is made. Unique characteristics of one's potential destination would undoubtedly rise the importance of tax burden leading factor. I mean, this is pretty cool because I remember the book by Tyler Cowen. Don't exactly remember the title, but he did say that Americans are moving much less, because back in the day, Americans just would move to boomtown, but now all the boom towns with a lot of jobs, unfortunately, had very restrictive zoning to where the rents would be so prohibitively high. So people were even afraid, like let's say if somebody wanted to work as a barista in New York, because that's where all the, somebody was like in Milwaukee, Well, they knew there's a barista job in New York, but the problem is they knew they'd be able to find a job, but the rents would be so high. So that was one of the problems. However, technology is seeming to help with that a lot, especially for the people who can work remotely. The weaker effect of cost of living is revealing, even more than cost, it's economic dynamism combined with low taxes that matters most for immigrants. So Economic Innovation Group defined dynamism as the rate and direction of change in the economy, which traditionally encompasses activities like rate of new business formation, frequency of labor market turnover, and geographic mobility of workforce, while low-cost states such as Arkansas, Kentucky, West Virginia, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama tend to have moderate tax burdens. They're also among the poorest and least economically dynamic in the country. Their affordability is not enough to make them economically attractive. Unsurprisingly, their net migration is effectively zero. By contrast, states with high economic dynamism and low and moderate tax burdens like Georgia, Florida, Texas, North Dakota, Arizona, Wyoming, for example, tend to attract and keep residents. In fact, not one state with a high dynamic economy and either low or moderate tax burden is negative net migration. So I guess the question is, it's clear how to lower taxes, but how do you make a dynamic economy as well? I mean, how can Kentucky, West Virginia, and Mississippi increase their dynamism to attract people? Conversely, only one state in America, California, has both high tax burden and high dynamic economy. Although that's probably going to change later. It attracts migrants, but also hemorrhages residents at a much higher rate. California lost 654,000 residents in 2019, and the most of any state. California, only highly dynamic economy with a negative net domestic migration rate, the 10th worst in this country at negative 0.4%. Given high tax and high cost of living, and despite its many positives, California simply cannot stop people from leaving. But that's the thing, they're not trying. Here we go. Remote work will amplify this dynamic. More Americans will be able to keep working for their California-based company, ding, here you go, while enjoying Texas tax rates, for example. Such development will particularly be relevant for younger residents, new labor market entrants, and those who have traditionally been understood as less mobile, including families and service professionals who cannot work remotely. If millennial and Gen Z office workers flee high tax locations, not only restaurants and bars, but also Uber drivers, entertainment industry may as well follow. Of course, flight from high tax areas will have a knock-on effect on the public and private services and amenities those states offer as a tax base and economy erode. On the other hand, growing areas will see a boom that will further entice newcomers. All this to say, high tax, high cost states may face some serious challenge in the future. Economic dynamism alone will not be sufficient to maintain status quo. Meantime, low tax states, particularly those with high dynamic economies, should take care to preserve their winning formula even amid growing demands for public services. Tax hikes could kill their golden goose. And that's the problem too. Well, a lot of people don't really understand much about economics. They just know that California, they vote liberal, they're progressive, but California has a high cost of living, and then they can get a bigger house and more better job or whatever. Everybody's moving to Texas, so they're gonna move there, vote the same way, and coincidentally, states like Arizona are already turning purple. And that's one of the issues. And what is the solution? Less democracy? More markets? I don't know.